flooding unlike anything we have seen in decades. States from South Dakota to Iowa reeling from more than a foot of rain over the weekend, causing damage, death. Our teams are all over it. Plus, the legal clapback to Louisiana's plan to put the 10 Commandments in every public classroom. We're breaking down the lawsuit trying to stop that. And just 3 days to go until the first debate between President Biden and former President Trump. They're very different debate strategies. In tonight's original, the woman suing her hometown for millions of dollars after being wrongfully accused of stealing AirPods. Why she's bringing the civil rights discrimination case. Later on, are we over-swiping? The big question, why millennials and Gen Z are swapping Bumble and Hinge for real-life meet-cutes. Hi, everybody. I'm Yasmin Masugian in for Hallie tonight. We want to begin with historic flooding taking over the Midwest right now. Take a look at some of these images right now. Totally submerged underwater. They look more like boats trying to navigate through those roads, which look more like rivers, quite honestly. You see here a train bridge partially collapsed into the water, basically broken in half because of these storms and all of this flooding as well. It's coming after a foot of rain fell over the weekend, and now about 30 rivers flooding out across states like South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa as well. The governor of South Dakota confirming one person, in fact, has died so far. The water levels of some of the rivers peaking higher than that region has seen in over 3 decades. And there is no sign of this slowing down. What's more, that part of the country is also facing some severe heat. Want to get to our team, who's all over this for us. Meteorologist Bill Cairns is with us. We want to start, though, with Shaq Brewster, who is in Iowa on the ground for us. Shaq, start us off, if you will. What are you seeing there, and what might be coming next?
Well, there is a threat of more of this coming later this week, but I want you to focus almost on the here and now, because that's what folks here have been talking about, because what you see behind me is rain and devastation that happened on Thursday and Friday. The rain came Thursday and Friday, and then this is the result of it. Just look at the devastation that is caused. And for context, we're about a quarter of a mile away from the river. And so you can see this goes on for block after block. You see the car back there almost fully submerged. You keep going back. You see the mailbox fully submerged. I talked to a lady about across the street from where that far mailbox is, and she told me about how she got an alert about 4:30 in the morning, how she rushed and packed her medicine through the emergency items in the car and had to drive along the curb or on the grass here, drive through her neighbor's lawn to escape the floodwaters. Listen to a little bit of what she told me.
I've lived here for 20 years. I have had my basement flooded twice. Not like this, just with groundwater from the rain. This is the worst that I've ever seen it.
I mentioned this is still about a quarter mile, well over a quarter mile from where the actual river is. So just imagine the scale of the devastation. And we know that Big Sioux River, along the river, there was a gauge that showed the record crest, all-time record crest being broken, not in terms of inches, but being exceeded by 7 feet. It just gives you a sense of the devastation that came and how unprecedented this all is.
It's even more startling sometimes, Shaq, especially when I'm in places like that, after a storm like that has come through, in which now there is sunshine outside and it is warm as heck, right? And yet there's all this flooding. I know that FEMA is on the ground right now. We've heard the president has also been briefed on the situation. What is the response from officials?
Yeah, some areas are actually dealing with power issues. So when you're dealing with these 96, 97 degree temperatures, you just add on to the fact that you have lack of power, and that's when you start talking about even more dangerous conditions. But here we've been seeing rescues take place. Official telling me just in this neighborhood, they rescued some 16 people alone. But listen to what officials have been talking about the scale of this devastation.
We are really looking at unprecedented times right now. This has, it's just been difficult to predict what's going to happen when levels are this high, when we have no history with it. Nobody has experienced this level of rainfall and this much water at one time. We just have to wait for that river to go down. There's absolutely nothing we can do to stop it from overtopping the levee.
It's almost a waiting game. I'll tell you, not too far from where I am, the amount of water having an impact on the infrastructure. The river is essentially going over what was a train bridge, Yasmin.
Shaq Brewster for us. Thank you, Shaq. Appreciate it. I want to go to Bill Cairns now. Let's talk heat, Bill, if we can, for a moment, right? Because we've seen some relief here, some relief here. When is this relief going to widen out?
It's not. This is one of those summer days, and we're going to see the heat going from one portion of the country to another, and it's going to kind of ping-pong around. I'd be surprised if we ever get a real big break. And the map behind me is just like, the colors are just jumping out at you. And Omaha, that's not a misprint. Last hour, it felt like 114 in the shade, and right now it feels like 113. That's much hotter than it was anywhere on the East Coast this past weekend, and not much cooler. Wichita's in the mid-100s. Little Rock's at 107 right now. Both those cities are under excessive heat warnings. Where the cold front went through, lower humidity has moved in temporarily, is like Indianapolis, Columbus, Roanoke, D.C., New York. It's even a little bit better in Kentucky today. In Nashville, feels like 92. That's better than it was. But the whole southern half of the country, it's going to stick around. It's going to be here for a while. That's why we still have these excessive heat warnings up for the Omaha area, Little Rock, over towards Fort Smith, and then just north of Jackson, Mississippi. So there's a couple spots where we consider it actual dangerous. We're not going to break a lot of record highs like last week, but the humidity is much higher this week than last week. So when we factor in the temperature and the humidity, that's where we get these crazy heat indices. And towards the end of the week, not really that bad from Chicago to New York. So that area of the country is not a problem. But everywhere through the south is just brutally hot, including Atlanta, Dallas, easily into the hundreds for at least the next 4 to 5 days in a row. And some of that will spread up into areas of Kansas. And as far as the flooding goes, Yasmin, we do have a chance of additional thunderstorms in this region. We're watching it closely. They've now formed here in southern Minnesota, and we do expect these rivers to be cresting here in the next 2 to 3 days. We could also see some severe weather tonight, too, in Wisconsin. So a little bit of additional rain and the problems that I've seen, just this historic flooding.
Got to say, 4 days into summer, concerning looking at those temperatures, what we can expect come July and August. Bill Cairns for us, as always, my friend. Thank you. Just in the last hour or so, folks, a group of Louisiana families filed a federal lawsuit over that Louisiana law that requires the 10 Commandments be displayed in all public school classrooms in the state, saying the display is unconstitutional. The plaintiffs, they include parents who are rabbis, pastors, reverends, Jewish, Christian, Unitarian, Universalist, and non-religious as well. Basically, they're saying the display of the Christian 10 Commandments pressures students to adopt, quote, the state's favored religious scripture. Take a listen to this.
But it sends a dangerous and harmful message to children and the community that anyone who doesn't believe in the state's preferred scripture does not belong.
Marissa Parra following this for us and joining us now. Walk us through kind of some of the main arguments that they're making here, Marissa.
Hey, Yasmin, good to be on with you. This is something we've been following since last week when that was officially signed by Governor Landry. And so what we heard tonight was what we've been expecting. We had heard last week that they would be filing this lawsuit. And so now we got a little bit more of a sense of what their arguments were. We went through the complaints, and of course we heard it. And you're going to hear from one of the plaintiffs in just a moment. But in part, they argue in this complaint and in that media call we heard not long ago that this violates long-standing precedent set by the Supreme Court of the United States, and that it also interferes with parents' right to direct their children's religious education and upbringing. And you're going to hear from one of those families in just a moment. But one thing that I thought was interesting, Yasmin, is that one of the lawyers that is a part of this case saying that this lawsuit was filed not just on behalf of the parents, but also the children. Take a listen.
Personally, I believe in a Christian version of the Ten Commandments. But the text of the Ten Commandments mandated by House Bill 71, even though Christocentric, presents language that runs counter to important Presbyterian values, such as inclusion and equality.
Now, something I also thought was interesting in terms of the timing. So the law is effective already. This was signed last week. And so in terms of when the law is required to be upheld, that is, these classrooms in Louisiana required to display the 10 Commandments, that is effective come 2025, Yasmin. So the hope here, now that they've filed this, they're hoping they're going to have a hearing. They're seeking an injunction. And their hope is that they can get this overturned, if you will, in some way, shape, or form to stop this effectively before that deadline of 2025, Yasmin.
So two things here. If you're looking at 2025, then are we looking at January of 2025? So when kids return to the classroom in 2 months or so, this still will not be in effect. And with that all being said, are we likely headed towards the Supreme Court with this thing?
Great questions and important ones. So you could absolutely see classrooms before 2025 implementing this, but it is not required until the start of 2025. So the idea being you can have classrooms without it at the start of winter break in December, but by the time they return, if everything remains as it is exactly right now, Yasmin, they would be required. All of those public classrooms would be required to display the 10 Commandments on some sort of large poster-sized display. And then regarding the Supreme Court of the United States, it's another important thing here. We talked about that precedent that was set roughly 40 years ago, Stone versus Graham in Kentucky. And so what we could see this rise to the level of Supreme Court. And the idea here is that this is a violation of the precedent that was set. And so there is some thought that maybe this in general was, signed with the hope of it rising to the Supreme Court. And this is a conservative Supreme Court. So there is some question as to how that would go if it rises to the level. And of course, we will stay on top of it every step of the way, Yasmin.
We know you will. Marissa Parra, thank you. Speaking of the Supreme Court, now set to issue a ruling in the battle over gender-affirming care for minors, it's the very first time that the court's going to wade into this issue. Here's what we know. The court is going to take up the case out of Tennessee, a law there restricting puberty blockers, hormone therapy, other treatments as well for minors. The justices are going to hear an appeal from the Biden administration seeking to block state bans on gender-affirming care for people under the age of 18. And look at this map. You got more than 20 other states with similar restrictions, meaning the decision set to come in the next term, by the way, is going to have major implications across the entire country. I want to bring in Lawrence Hurley to talk more about this if we can. Lawrence, good to talk to you on this. The court has until now really kind of stayed out of disputes involving transgender minors. What more do we know about the case, and why are they taking this up now?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like a lot of these laws have been passed in states, and these are all recent laws. So the court cases that are challenging those laws are now being going through the court system. And so, these are kind of novel new issues, and they're only just kind of getting up to the Supreme Court. This one is important because the Biden administration actually intervened in the case, and they made a point of saying that this is a case of national importance. They're the ones who actually asked the court to hear the case. And when the Solicitor General, acting on behalf of the federal government, asked the Supreme Court to take up a case, they very often do. So that's one of the reasons why the court's taking up this case right now.
So I think the big question here is what happens when there is actually a decision coming out of here, because you've got some pending litigation over gender-affirming care in certain states across the country. As we look at that map a little bit earlier, what kind of impact could a ruling have on those states with pending litigation?
Yeah, so any ruling in this Tennessee case is going to affect all of those other litigation that are going on around the country. But there's also another reason why this case is important, which is the court's going to be looking at whether discrimination against transgender people gets some kind of special treatment, like the same way that sex discrimination does.
Yeah.
And so people are going to be looking really closely at that, because that could affect not just these other gender-affirming care laws, but also other laws affecting transgender people.
Lawrence Hurley for us. Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We are just learning in the last couple of minutes that a judge in the federal classified documents case against the former president appears unlikely to put him under a gag order. Judge Cannon leaning in that direction, as the special counsel's office pointed to Mr. Trump's long history of attacking federal law enforcement, judges, and witnesses. The former president's legal team saying a gag order would be an unconstitutional restriction of the free speech of a former president who's also a leading candidate in the 2024 presidential election. Mr. Trump is already under 2 gag orders, by the way. One in the New York hush money trial, where he was found guilty. The other in his pending federal election interference case. The federal judge in this documents case, Judge Eileen Cannon, ordered 3 full days of hearings on a range of legal motions set to wrap up tomorrow. I want to bring in Ken Delaney outside the courthouse for us in Fort Pierce, Florida, for more on this. So we are kind of learning more, Ken, of what is happening inside that courtroom and where Judge Eileen Cannon is likely to rule on this thing. And I think a lot of folks predicted this is the way she would likely rule. But I want to kind of hear about the prosecution's case here and what they tried to set up. This cause and effect, the evidence and the timeline that the former president's tweets and online rhetoric can and do influence real-life threats of violence.
Yes, Yasmin, and I would caution, though, that things that Judge Cannon says in her courtroom don't necessarily predict how she's going to rule. And I don't think we know how she's going to rule on this potential gag order. But what the prosecution is arguing here is that when Donald Trump concocted a story that President Biden had authorized the FBI to use deadly force during the Mar-a-Lago raid, which was not true, he was basing that on a standard FBI form that just reminded FBI agents of what their force policy was. When Donald Trump said that, he was sending a message to his followers that was likely to engender potential violence. And they used some previous examples. They said that, for example, after the Mar-a-Lago raid in 2022 that Donald Trump denounced on social media and elsewhere, a deranged person came armed with an AR-15 and a nail gun to the FBI office in Cincinnati and tried to attack it. And that man was later shot and killed by law enforcement. And then just last week, they pointed out that another Trump supporter called the cell phone of an FBI agent involved in the Hunter Biden case and made threats. He's now been charged with a crime, said that when Trump is elected, FBI agents will be slaughtered. So this isn't most Trump supporters, even many Trump supporters, but there's a tiny fraction of people who listen to what Donald Trump says, and sometimes it causes them to act in dangerous ways. And so what the prosecution is saying is that Judge Cannon should modify the conditions of Donald Trump's release. Remember, he's a criminal defendant on bond. He doesn't have the same First Amendment rights as other people. And his lawyers respond that this would be chilling, this would impinge on his rights to campaign for president. And they also say there's no nexus between what he's saying and the potential actions of his supporters. So it's just a fundamental disagreement.
I want to talk about kind of Judge Cannon's timeline and strategy here for a moment, Ken, if we can. Legal experts are saying Judge Cannon kind of granting these full hearings and all these motions, it's fairly unusual. And it's part of this broader trend of her kind of slow walking this trial. Keeping that in mind, when could we actually see a ruling on these pretty kind of consequential motions?
Right. Well, the gag order is almost an emergency motion. She's asked the parties to file more paperwork within the next 2 days, but presumably she would rule on that rather quickly. The other things, though, as you said, she's been having these hearings about really legalistic questions, like the question of whether the special counsel is constitutional under the Appointments Clause, the Appropriations Clause. These are things that have already been litigated in previous courts. They've never been successful. Many judges would not have had a hearing on this, would just have decided based on the briefs, because ultimately it's not her call. This is going to go to an appellate court in any case, because it's a legal question. So she's doing that in almost every case, having hearing after hearing, and the result is that we are not close to trial in this case. And who knows when she's going to rule on some of these constitutional questions. She's taking her time with the rulings. She's taking her time with the hearings, Yasmin.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. So with those legal issues looming in the background, we are now just 3 days away until the showdown debate between President Biden and former President Trump. And a big contrast is starting to emerge between these two candidates, how they're actually prepping for the big day. For the president, it is all about hunkering down Camp David, hours of mock debates, quizzing from his top aides. For the former president, it seems like business as usual, heading to a campaign fundraiser in New Orleans, for instance. Mr. Trump's team saying public appearances, fundraisers, rallies, interviews, they are all part of this debate prep come Thursday. Want to bring in Vaughn Hilliard, who's following this for us, to talk more about this. The former president likes to wing it, and he also knows how to direct his campaign as to how he preps for these types of things. What is the messaging they are trying to send in saying, we're basically going to wing it?
Right. We all have friends, some that are more of the go into the woods and cabin friends, and then you've got those that are the Bourbon Street friends down in New Orleans. And I think in this situation, you have two presidential candidates. We'll leave that one out. Look, you got Donald Trump, who he and his campaign are publicly making the case that he doesn't need to do rehearsal. He doesn't need to do a mock debate because he's been out on the campaign trail. He talks to right-wing outlets, and he is constantly talking about the issues that he is going to be discussing over the course of the 90 minutes. And that is the posture that they are presenting. On the other hand, you've got Joe Biden, who has been at Camp David since Thursday, who is working with close aides on going through these mock debates and answering those questions. I want to let you hear from Adrienne Elrod, one of the spokeswomen for the Biden-Harris campaign.
President Biden is taking this debate prep incredibly seriously. You will see a very energized President Biden. I can assure you of that. When you've got a record to run on and you've got a vision for what you want your second term to look like, it makes debate prep a lot easier. Donald Trump has nothing to run on.
And this is where the Biden campaign, they want to focus on how a second Trump administration would compare to a second Biden administration.
Right.
And of course, Adrienne Elrod, the spokeswoman there, making a reference to energy. And they are eager to have Joe Biden go out there and show that, right, the one Joe Biden that often appears on social media clips is not the man that you are going to see who is currently working out of the White House on a daily basis.
So then there's the question of whether or not Biden's going to actually bring up the conviction. Is he going to bring up Trump's legal troubles, right? We know there's this fine line that the president has to walk and not kind of feeding into what it is the former president is putting out there, right? That this was Joe Biden's Department of Justice that went after him. And yet it is the reality that the country is facing, that a former president has been convicted on 34 felony criminal counts.
Right. And I think that this is where Donald Trump has tried to turn it on its head by calling it political persecution. These charges would have never been filed if it weren't for me trying to ascend back to the White House. And on the other hand of this is where, you know, Joe Biden, when we were covering the trial, the Biden campaign was silent over those 7 weeks. Yeah. But as soon as he was found guilty, their tenor changed. Take a listen to close Biden ally Mitch Landrieu on Meet the Press.
It really doesn't matter how Donald Trump shows up. If he comes in unhinged like he is most of the time, or he sits there and is quiet, people are going to know that he's a twice impeached, convicted felon who's been found to have defamed somebody, sexually abused somebody, and gone bankrupt 6 times.
Mitch Landrieu there directly suggesting that President Biden intends to bring up not only the felony conviction, but also the fact that he was found to have sexually abused E. Jean Carroll and was also found to have engaged in repeated financial fraud by a New York civil trial.
Really fascinating to watch with the debate.
Thanks,
Thank you, Vaughn. Appreciate it. All right. So a reminder, everybody, the first debate between President Biden and Mr. Trump being hosted by CNN, but you can watch it right here on NBC News Now with coverage starting at 7 p.m. on Thursday. You do not want to miss that. We are learning some new details about a deadly attack in Russia, killing at least 20 people, including 17 police officers in just the last 24 hours. Local authorities in southern Russia say multiple gunmen opened fire at 2 Orthodox churches, a synagogue, and a police post in coordinated attacks in 2 different cities. A top Russian official blaming Islamic militants for the rampage just months after an Islamic State group claimed responsibility for an attack in Moscow that killed 145 people. Want to bring in Tom Winter, who's been following this for us with more. Tom, if you will, bring us up to date on this attack. Who might be responsible?
Right, let's get to the question there first, Yasmin. Right now, U.S. officials, as well as what we're hearing out of the terrorist community, it's really in doubt who's specifically responsible for this. ISIS-K, who might be the #1 suspect, if you will, that terrorist organization, they only praised the attack. They didn't take credit for it. There is an ISIS kind of affiliate or branch, if you will, that's located in the northern Caucasus, which is, of course, is where Dagestan is, and the 2 cities that were impacted here in these attacks. They have not taken responsibility, but they are there, and that's a possibility. So that's something we're going to continue to watch. But right now, the U.S. doesn't have an exact idea which terrorist group might be responsible for it, other than this is a terrorist attack. And a couple of things that they're looking at, the fact that he used gunfire, and then like the Crocus attacks, the ones you referenced before, which was attributed to ISIS-K, there was the idea of fire bombings afterwards. This is a new trend in terrorism attacks that we're starting to see more prevalent. The use of fire bombs during the course of the attack, it makes it very difficult for first responders to be able to help people out that have been impacted and injured in this. And so it's something that is unfortunately yet another disturbing trend.
This is not a region that is unfamiliar, Tom, with attacks like this one.
Well, that's exactly right. Either attacks like this one or attacks that have been launched out of this community. There have been strongholds of extremists for some times. I mean, it even got to the point leading up to the Sochi Games, there was a lot of reporting that Alexander Bortnikov, who runs the FSB, the Federal Security Service in Russia, it was their posture to effectively let some of these terrorist groups out of Dagestan to go to fight in Syria, so they didn't have to deal with them during the Sochi Olympics. It's an area that a lot of terrorist activity in Russia has been attributed to in the past. And then we saw an incident earlier this year where a plane carrying Israelis from Israel landed at an airport there, and actually the passengers were never able to disembark because they were surrounded by people who were protesting them. So it's an area that has had extremism in the past, and that is not expected to abate anytime soon in the near future.
Tom Winter, thank you. Appreciate it. Coming up, we are learning more about a surfing legend's devastating death, what a caller told emergency dispatchers in Hawaii after the attack. Plus, record labels suing AI startups for copyright infringement. What the outcome here means for music. After a quick break. All right, welcome back to tonight's original with in-depth reporting on a topic that we have been watching. And tonight we're meeting a woman who's suing her hometown in Illinois for $20 million over an ordeal that started with missing AirPods. Basically, a couple of years ago, when she was in high school, a school resource officer ticketed her for allegedly stealing AirPods. She says she didn't do it. She didn't steal them. It turned into this years-long legal battle. And now a Spelman College graduate, she's fighting back against what she's calling civil rights discrimination. Here's Adrian Brodus.
A tiny electronic device caused big problems for Amara Harris.
It's been a roller coaster.
Harris was accused of stealing a classmate's AirPods she believed were hers. When confronted, the then high school junior says she returned the AirPods to school officials. But a school resource officer at Naperville North High School still issued a $100 ticket for a theft Harris says never happened.
I was angry. I was sad. I felt that I was targeted with this case.
Harris refused to pay the fine, prompting nearly a 4-year legal battle.
There were more than 50 hearings.
And a 2-day trial where she won.
Amara's issued this ticket and by her own courage decides that she's not going to pay the ticket because she did nothing wrong. It created, I think, a tension between the city for needing now to double down and defend on a practice that is not only questionable, but we believe is illegal.
Now, Harris is taking the city of Naperville to court, filing a $20 million civil suit claiming malicious prosecution and civil rights violations.
It requires now the intervention of the courts to get the city's attention. I hope it will say to the legislature, to the governor, and to the city that we have to change how we abuse the system and use the process against the interests of our students.
The suit also names the officer who issued the ticket as a defendant. That same officer testifying during the jury trial, he had no direct evidence Harris had stolen the AirPods. In a statement, the city attorney wrote, quote, "We believe the allegations are without merit," saying in part the city is prepared to vigorously defend this lawsuit, adding the police officers relied on eyewitness statements in issuing the citation. The fact that the jury acquitted Ms. Harris does not negate the factual basis for the actions of the city and its officers. The officers named in the suit and the school district didn't respond to our request for comment. A ProPublica investigation found black students in Illinois were twice as likely to receive a ticket at a school compared to their white classmates.
Is this a different form of racism?
That's an interesting question. The reason there's a civil rights aspect to it is that there's a disparate application of the issuance of tickets on the basis of race.
Despite everything,
Amara Fallon Harris.
a moment of triumph for Harris after a taxing case. Graduating last month with a bachelor's degree from Spelman College in Atlanta.
You were always a great helper.
Marla Baker witnessed the emotional toll on her daughter, who she says was an outgoing cheerleader, but now barely speaks above a whisper.
I try to hold my tears back because I know she's fighting through depression, she's fighting through anxiety, and she's getting back to that big personality, that big smile.
Turning what started as a misunderstanding into a catalyst for change.
Now I'm seeing the brighter side of it and seeing how I can help other kids and help schools.
Adrian Brodus joining us now. Always incredible, Adrian. I love that story, to see something like that happen to a young woman like that, so incredibly smart, and be, as you said, right, this catalyst for change. So with that, now we're hearing there's this push right in Chicago, other places as well, to get rid of school resource officers altogether.
Yeah, you're right. There is a push. Some districts are calling for counselors instead of cops. In fact, here this week in Chicago, there's a planned vote happening with the Chicago Board of Education. This comes after the board unanimously voted to terminate its school resource officer program back in February. The board will vote on those plans, to finalize those plans, I should say, this week. And that's something that we could see happening in Chicago public schools. To be clear, not the school where Amara Harris attended, a different district, but that would go into place at the start of the next school year. So we're looking at September, and that's something we'll stay on top of.
Great reporting, Adrian. Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome back. A legal firestorm. It's brewing today over this major clash between record companies and AI music services. The Recording Industry Association of America filing copyright infringement lawsuits today against two separate companies, accusing them of training their AI models on copyrighted music without permission and then spitting out AI-generated music that essentially sounds like other artists. We reached out to both defendants. One company's CEO just got back to us, the CEO of Suno, saying in part this: "We would have been happy to explain this to the corporate record labels that filed this lawsuit," and then in parentheses says, "and in fact, we tried to do so. But instead of entertaining a good faith discussion, they've reverted to their old lawyer-led playbook." I want to bring in NBC business and data correspondent Brian Chung to break this all down for us. There's a lot of confusing stuff in all this. I think for those folks that are not necessarily familiar with kind of AI-generated music scene, they're saying, okay, wait, what's going on? What are they doing?
Yeah.
So walk us through that and kind of why these record labels are so angry about what's happening.
Yeah, well, this
filing suit.
This is kind of the next natural evolution of the conversation on AI with copyright, right? Like, who owns this property? If it sounds like someone's voice, then who's liable if they try to copy that voice? Now, there are two defendants in this in these lawsuits that we're talking about. Suno, as you mentioned, which got back to us here at NBC News. But then the other company is this company known as Uncharted Labs. They have a software known as Udio. And interestingly, this is the software that's behind very prevalent songs. One example being BBL Drizzy. This is a song that was at the center of the spat between Kendrick Lamar and also Drake. So this is technology that is being heard already by millions of people. But we have to remember that what's in the suit right now concerns a lot of the artists that are on these record labels. There are major record labels as part of this suit, and the RIAA, which is basically the association that represents the industry, saying in a statement or in the lawsuit, unlicensed services like Suno and Udio that claim it's fair to copy an artist's life's work and exploit it for their own profit without consent or pay set back the promise of genuinely innovative AI for us all. And, you know, we have to remember that this type of software is very good. This is not just kind of, you know, a few tunes and few beats being put together. In fact, we actually had asked Udio, this is one of the companies and the softwares at the center of this suit, to generate a response. Take a listen to what they generated.
They got their eyes on you for the tunes you share. Labels coming after like they own the air.
And again, we asked them to generate that. This is not a statement from Udio, but you can see, I mean, those lyrics clearly take the side of AI.
Yeah.
Very interesting there.
Yeah. So what are the larger implications of all of this?
Yeah, well, the implications are that it's going to open up a real kind of legal Pandora's box in terms of whether or not it's on the AI companies or on the record labels to prove that they actually have the right to use these voices.
I feel like we kind of went through this iteration, a different iteration of this with kind of the dawn of Napster, right? In the music,
certainly, yeah.
business.
And in that case, it may have been a little bit more clear-cut because they were ripping the actual songs themselves. Right. And, you know, this is a little bit less clear. It might not be the exact same song, but in the legal filings, they did an example of a Michael Bublé song and said, look, this AI actually generated a melody that was virtually identical note for note. And they actually showed the notation out there.
Wow.
Is that enough? If the voice is not Michael Bublé's, right? That's where a court is going to have to decide, a jury or a judge, this is the exact same thing, or it's an artistic representation of something that already exists.
Artistic representation.
We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. That's really fascinating. Let's get you over to the 5 things that our team thinks that you should know about tonight. Number 1, the defense resting its case today in the murder trial over the death of a Boston police officer. Prosecutors saying Officer John O'Keefe's then-girlfriend hit him with her car and then left him to die. Karen Reed's defense team claiming it was a cover-up by law enforcement. We're going to have more on closing arguments expected to begin tomorrow. We got number 2 for you. Officials saying a pro surfer and longtime lifeguard died after he was attacked by a shark in Hawaii. The 46-year-old Tamayo Perry, who also appeared in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, was killed while surfing off Oahu's North Shore. The 911 caller said Perry's body appeared to have multiple bites, according to emergency services. Number 3, Princess Anne is in the hospital after an accident that left her with a concussion and minor injuries. The 73-year-old sister of King Charles is expected to make a full recovery, according to Buckingham Palace. Her medical team saying her injuries were consistent with a potential impact from a horse's head or legs. Number 4, doctors at Northwestern performing one of the first kidney transplants on a patient awake. During the procedure, the hospital is saying the 28-year-old experienced no pain, was home, by the way, within a day. Instead of using general anesthesia, doctors use a spinal anesthetic, similar to what is done in C-sections. Number 5, Taylor Swift praising her band following a standing ovation at one of her London concerts, saying this: "My band, who's going to be playing live for you for 3.5 hours tonight, they deserve this so much." Some speculating that it's in response to Foo Fighters band member Dave Grohl, who compared Swift's band to his during their show in London. He said, "That's because we actually play live." Some shade there, to say the least. When we come back, Los Angeles police boosting patrols after a violent clash outside a synagogue. What is the city saying about it? Plus, how a hiker says he survived being lost in the woods for more than a week. I'll be right back. NBC covers hundreds of stories each and every day, and because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment that we call The Local. From our Western Bureau, people are allowed to go back home today in a village in New Mexico after wildfires in the area killed 2 people and destroyed or damaged more than 1,000 structures. The FBI saying it's offering a reward of up to $10,000 for any information that could help them arrest and convict the people behind this fire. Also from our Western Bureau, we're now hearing from a man in California who set out on a 3-hour hike but ended up going missing for more than a week. He told our local affiliate he slept on a bed of wet leaves, drank water from a creek out of his boot, and ate wild berries while yelling for help. Here's more of what the hiker had to say.
Just help, I'm over here, or is anybody out there, or I want a burrito and a taco bowl.
According to our local affiliate, officials found him shirtless with just a flashlight and a pair of scissors. And from our Southern Bureau, tonight one NHL team is going to take home the Stanley Cup, and either way, it is going to be historic. The Edmonton Oilers are trying to become the first team since 1942 to lose the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup final and then come back to win it all, while the Florida Panthers are trying to win their first Stanley Cup ever. All right, let's switch gears here. Israel's top defense chief holding key talks with leaders in Washington on his plans for the next stage of this war. As Israel says, its intense fighting in Gaza is coming to an end, with the military now turning its focus to Lebanon in what could be, by the way, a major shift and escalation in regional fighting 8 months into this war. Less than 24 hours after Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu said Israel could accept a partial ceasefire deal that released some, but not all, of the 120 hostages that are still inside Gaza. We are also seeing some new disturbing footage of the moments when 3 hostages were abducted on October 7th. You can see people there covered in blood. Matt Bradley has more for us from Tel Aviv.
Well, remarkably, we've seen this dust-up between Washington and Jerusalem now spilling over into a second week. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, told Israeli television last night in a rare interview with domestic TV that there were still lags in weapons deliveries from the U.S. to Israel. And this was the cause of all of this friction last week when Benjamin Netanyahu released an English-language video scolding the Biden administration for lagging on their delivery of weapons. And he said that it was several different weapons, at least he did last night. Now, the White House has consistently denied that that was the case. And in fact, we heard from a White House spokeswoman last week saying that she had no idea what Netanyahu was talking about. Now, this was the most public and the most glaring example of the falling out between the Biden administration and Netanyahu, but it comes just as Netanyahu, as he's continuing to assail the Biden administration, he signaled that the fight in the Gaza Strip is entering a new phase, one in which it sounds as though, from his words, combatants and hostilities are going to be decreasing, particularly in the southern city of Rafah, which just abuts the Egyptian border right on the southern edge of the Gaza Strip. And he said that will allow for the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, to free up some of their capabilities, some of their soldiers and equipment to move north, where there is a new fight that is brewing. It has long been one of the major fronts in this war between Israel and Hezbollah, but just over the past week or two, it has really heated up. We went up there just yesterday and spoke with some family members and people who had been living there. They had been evacuated. Like most of this city, it's called Kiryat Shimona, right on the border. And they said that they were very frustrated with the government, that they haven't been allowed to return to their homes for the past 8 months, and that the Israeli government hadn't been taking the threat of Hezbollah seriously and pushed them back from the border. Now, all of this is happening, all of this friction, as Yoav Gallant, who's the defense minister here in Israel, is visiting Washington, D.C. He's going to be going about the business, presumably, of clearing up some of the disputes between Washington and Jerusalem, but also addressing three major topics. One, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the hostages who still remain in the Gaza Strip, and there are dozens of them. And so far, a negotiated deal to have them freed has eluded negotiators from different countries. And also the fighting in the Gaza Strip and the threats to civilians there. He's going to be reassuring American diplomats and leaders that Israel is doing all it can. Now, this visit couldn't come at a more crucial time, as I mentioned, with this massive falling out, public falling out between Washington and Jerusalem.
All right, thank you to Matt Bradley for his reporting from Tel Aviv. Los Angeles' mayor tonight saying she's ordering increased police patrols at places of worship after a violent clash outside a synagogue between a group of pro-Palestinian protesters and supporters of Israel. Video from the scene on Sunday appearing to show people throwing punches and using their protest signs as weapons. The fighting continued into broad daylight before police were actually able to step in. The president responding in a posting on X saying this: intimidating Jewish congregants is dangerous, unconscionable, anti-Semitic, and un-American. Americans have a right to peaceful protest, but blocking access to a house of worship and engaging in violence is never acceptable. David Noriega is joining us now with more on this. These pictures, David, they're pretty intense. How serious was this for arrests to have been made?
You know, in terms of the level of violence, this was, I would say, not quite as serious as what we saw with the UCLA encampment here just a few weeks ago, but it was still serious enough for the LAPD to make one arrest of a person they said was carrying what they described as a spike pole, presumably a flagpole or a sign. They also say they're investigating 2 reports of battery. Now, the police were present on the scene the whole time. This was an event they're aware of, so there really are questions around why they did not keep these 2 groups of protesters and counter-protesters separate, why these brawls were allowed to happen in the first place. Yasmin?
What was actually happening at the synagogue when this violence broke out? And what are we hearing from city and state officials overall?
So the reason there was a protest at this synagogue is because protesters were targeting an event taking place inside the synagogue that was promoting real estate in Israel. One of the companies that was participating in the event has in the past promoted listings for properties in Israeli settlements in the West Bank. That is what protesters say they were protesting. Now, obviously, the presence of protesters and counter-protesters both meant that this devolved into violence. And in terms of the response from officials on both the local, state, and national level has been pretty unanimous in condemning the initial protest as anti-Semitic. There is the president's statement that you read out. Right. Representatives Ted Lieu and Adam Schiff have made similar statements. California Governor Gavin Newsom, for example, put a post on Twitter or X this morning describing this as anti-Semitic hatred. That is what we've been hearing from officials. There is actually going to be a press conference in about an hour and 15 minutes here in LA with the mayor and the police department. We may get some more reaction then.
Thank you for being on that for us, David Noriega. Appreciate it. Coming up, everybody, a teen track star breaking a record twice in a weekend. We're talking about what could be his final sprint to the Paris Olympic Games with NBC Olympics track and field announcer coming up next. It's so exciting. It's that time of year again, right? We're deep in the middle of Olympic trials. America's top athletes, they're competing for this coveted spot on the USA Olympics team. And already an incredible story is taking shape. There's a reason why that individual looks so young. He's 16 years old. Quincy Wilson setting an under-18 record in the 400 meters. Tonight, he's going to compete in the men's finals. And if he finishes in the top 3, it's going to change his life forever. He's going to become the youngest ever male member of the U.S. Olympic track team. And if you think he's nervous about all of this, listen to this.
I'm 16 years old. I'm going to be the youngest in the 400 field, the youngest there in general. And so just knowing that I don't really have any pressure because I'm the underdog really going into the race. Honestly, I think I would probably have more pressure in a high school race than I would have in a pro race.
You have got to love that. Lee Diffie joining us now, who calls track and field for NBC Sports, joining me from Eugene, Oregon. I mean, come on. You got a 16-year-old breaking records, right? He could make it to the Olympics, of all places, in Paris, in the 400-meter, and he doesn't have that much pressure because he's got nothing to lose. What a mindset to have going into this thing.
I think he's an educator for all of us, Yasmin, because
you're right.
It's like don't take life so seriously. You know, he was informed yesterday by our trackside reporter, Lewis Johnson. He said, "You're 16. You're running beside a veteran, a credentialed veteran, an Olympian in Vernon Norwood, who's 32, twice your age." And he turned that round into a talking point later on. This kid is just so bright and so refreshing. And before he ran yesterday, the roar that he got from the crowd here at Hayward Field just elevated all of us.
Can you talk about his record breaking? Not once, but twice in 2 days. What was it like to see him run? What was it about even kind of his glide, right? The way that he ran that track that differentiated him from the other runners?
Well, I'm going to steal some of his words because he said, "I'm only 16. I'm running against men. If you look at me physically, I'm nowhere near as big or as muscular as they are." And he said, "I'm running with all of this. I'm running with lots of heart." And he just showed so much determination. You talk about those records, by the way.
Yeah.
He did break 2 records within back-to-back sessions. And he broke not only the 42-year-old high school record twice, but he then broke the world under-18 record as well. So this kid is just smashing it everywhere.
So what does that do to you? Okay, first of all, predictions. Do you think he's going to do it? Is he going to make it to the Olympics? A. And then what does that do to you when you're 16 years old and you get to go to the Paris Olympics and run in the 400-meter?
Well, I think he's going to have an accelerated maturation. You know, there's going to be a lot to take in. But this kid, you know, he goes to school at Bullis High School, which is proudly displayed on his running uniforms. He's had a different uniform for each round, and he kind of likes that design. He's a straight-A student at school, doesn't yet have a driver's license. So he's got a lot of growing up in life to do anyway, but he just seems to be taking it in such a mature way and one step at a time, pardon the pun. But look, to answer your question about whether he's going to make it or not, it's probably going to be a stretch, but there's a little caveat to that because we still could see him in Paris because the speed that he's shown, and simply to make the final, he could be on the 4x400-meter relay team. So he could go to Paris anyway, which would be fantastic.
That would be amazing. Lee Diffie, we appreciate you as always. Thank you, friend. By the way, you can watch NBC Sports coverage of those Olympics team trials tonight, NBC in Peacock. You don't want to miss it. I mean, come on. You got to see that guy race. Still to come, why Gen Z is swiping left on dating apps and how they're meeting people the OG way, offline. That's coming up next. All right, so for years now, right, apps like Bumble, Hinge, they've dominated the dating space. But studies now showing millennials and Gen Z, they may not be as interested anymore. And it doesn't just go for dating, but also making friends. So how are young people actually making connections? They're getting together in person. Maura Barrett's looking into it for us.
Here, let me do it for you, Ethel.
Thanks, Bill. The saying, what's old is new again, is ringing true tonight for how young people are looking to date.
I'm not saying dating apps are bad, but I think we broke it. We need to go back to the old-fashioned way for a little bit.
Gen Z specifically is looking to stop swiping, showing more interest in meeting people, quote, naturally. A new Eventbrite report showing a notable rise in singles events and speed dating.
Attraction doesn't work necessarily in the ways that we use them on dating apps, where you might make a snap judgment on someone in less than 30 seconds. And that's not how things play out in person.
A craving for connection led Ariana Nathani to make a space for singles in New York City with her company Drinks First, curating dating events in person.
What took our events to the next level was the interest that people wanted, that in-person connection. That has only strengthened with the decline of the use of dating apps.
It's a trend across the country. According to Eventbrite, a majority of young daters now saying meeting IRL feels more genuine, while nearly half says it feels safer than a potential catfish online. Dr. Jess Carbino, a sociologist who previously worked for Tinder and Bumble, says it's also because younger generations are leaning into meeting where it's convenient, like in college or at sports clubs.
And frankly, I'm glad that they are. And the dating apps should be glad that they are as well, because they're going to learn the skills they need to be good daters.
Owen Warren and Davey Hiles attended one of the Drinks First events, hoping to meet women. Even though they struck out in the dating department, they became fast friends.
Putting yourself out there in the room is as important as like having like a deep one-on-one connection with like one person. Owen and I start getting along really well. Maybe like, you know, we could be friends.
And just looking for a connection with anybody, it seems.
There's a little less barrier to entry. We've all sort of signed up for something by coming to this a little bit, and that sort of mutual buy-in, is a powerful thing.
The business of creating community has proven difficult for dating app companies that had once seen a surge in swiping. Match Group and Bumble, companies that make up almost the entire industry, have lost over $40 billion in market value since 2021, according to the New York Times. The app's starting to shift gears. Just last month, the founder of Bumble teased that the app probably won't be centered around dating in a few years, and instead used to meet anyone with similar interests.
We're really entering new territory. And I would like to think that we're not necessarily reverting to old ways, but we're forging a new path ahead.
Daters taking a swiping sabbatical in hopes of finding the perfect meet cute in person. Some people attributing that swiping sabbatical to the fact that these apps, these dating apps, are putting in paywalls. It's something that's existed previously to say get to a higher tier or a different level, but Gen Zers who are dating now says it feels unnatural, unrealistic, and they don't like the fact that some of their dating matches might be hidden behind a paywall. And so that's another reason why we're seeing these apps shifting strategies. Bumble, for example, relaunching this year with what they're calling a more modern, compelling look, hoping to make a stronger appeal to younger daters. Back to you.
Getting out and in person. Thank you to Maura for that. That wraps it up for this hour, everybody. Coverage picks up right now. Tonight, flooding unlike anything we have seen in decades. States from South Dakota to Iowa reeling from more than a foot of rain over the weekend, causing damage and death. Our teams are all over it. Plus, the legal clapback to Louisiana's plan to put the 10 Commandments in every public classroom. We're breaking down the lawsuit trying to stop that. And just 3 days to go until the first debate between President Biden and former President Trump. They're very different debate preps. From Russia, new details about a deadly terror attack that left at least 20 people dead. What group might have been responsible? And later on, the legal firestorm brewing between major record labels and AI. Their lawsuit claiming bots are infringing on copyright. Hey, everybody, I'm Yasmin Vasugian in for Hallie tonight. We want to begin with historic flooding, taking over the Midwest, I should say. Take a look at this. Cars almost totally submerged underwater. They look more like boats trying to navigate through those roads, which honestly look more like rivers. You see here a train bridge partially collapsed into the water, basically broken in half because of the storms and the flooding. It's coming after over a foot of rain fell over the weekend, and now about 30 rivers are flooding out across states like South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa as well. The governor of South Dakota confirming one person has died there so far. The water levels of some of the rivers peaking higher than that region has seen in over 3 decades. And there is no sign of any of this slowing down. And what's more, that part of the country is also facing some severe heat. Want to get to our team who's all over this for us. Meteorologist Bill Cairns is with us. Also with us, Shaq Brewster, who's starting us off in Iowa. Shaq, good to talk to you. Give us a sense of what's happening now and if this thing is going to get worse before it gets better.
Potentially, it could get worse, Yasmin, which is frankly scary when you look at what you see behind me and the devastation that you see behind me. We're more than a quarter mile from the Big Sioux River, but you see it's hard to tell with this devastation. That car down there nearly fully submerged. You see mailboxes, just the top of mailboxes. We've been seeing people come and try to at least get whatever they can from these first few houses here. I spoke to a woman who lives way down the street. She said she got an alert about 4:30 in the morning. Her husband got in the car. They drove up the neighbor's lawns to escape. She said she's been living here for 20 years, haven't seen anything like this. Listen to a little bit of what she told me.
I have so many memories in the basement. pictures of my grandchildren, Christmas ornaments, just keepsakes. We have no flood insurance because we were told that we're not in the floodplain. So every single house out here is going to be without flood insurance.
When you talk about the scale here in Sioux City, in this neighborhood, the Big Sioux River, it saw record-breaking crests, but it didn't just exceed that record by 1 feet or 2 feet. It exceeded an all-time record crest by 7 feet. That just gives you an example of, or a reason for the devastation that you see behind me, Yasmin.
Are they getting help, Shaq?
They are, and in the distance, the fire department is moving out. They were here throughout the day, sending boats in, going door to door. The commander telling me that they knocked on some 16 doors and, rescued 16 people, knocked on plenty of more doors beyond that. I want you to listen to a little bit more of that conversation.
That help has looked like just showing a presence, answering questions, being transparent with the people that live out here. And then when we did start to receive floodwaters, notifying occupants that it might be a good time to prepare to evacuate. And then here recently with the floodwaters getting a little higher, we have gone door to door to persuade people to go.
In a press conference earlier today, you heard the fire chief describe the flooding that this community is seeing as unprecedented. He mentioned they have pumps, they have measures in place, but because it's so much water that came here so quickly, all they can do, he says, is wait it out. Yasmin?
Shaq Brewster for us. Thank you, Shaq. Appreciate it. Want to go to Bill Cairns now. I think, Bill, what is so startling when we see some of these images, for instance, where Shaq is standing right now, right? It's completely flooded behind him, but then it's a bright, beautiful, sunny day, obviously incredibly, though, hot as well. Give us kind of the combination of that, right? You got these major storms, and then you've got this major heat wave.
Yeah, this is all pretty common in the summer. So we get like these big heat waves. They kind of sit and they just kind of meander. You may have heard us call them a heat dome. That just kind of, drifts across the country. On the edges of that heat dome, we typically get a lot of thunderstorms and we get a lot of rain. And that's what happened this past weekend where we had the heat dome set up and all the rain was going through the Midwest. And that's still the pattern tonight. We're going to get more storms, hopefully not over the flooded rivers. So you can see where, the heat dome is set up right now over the top of Arkansas and Oklahoma and back up through Kansas into areas of Iowa. And after it rains, of course, the ground's more saturated. There's more moisture available, so that makes it even more humid. You probably felt that during the summertime when you get a thunderstorm goes through, cools you off, but if the sun comes back up, then it's like super humid. Yeah. And that's the case. Like Omaha feels like 111. Many areas, Shreveport, Little Rock, nearing 110. So it's just brutally hot. And it's not like last week where we broke a lot of records. The humidity wasn't quite as bad. It was just really hot. This week, it's more the humidity added with the heat. And we will see a couple close to near record highs. Memphis tomorrow, St. Louis will come close. I don't think we'll shatter or break many of them. And then the southern half of the country continues right through the end of the week. And here's the outlook for the end of June and the beginning of July, approaching the 4th of July. And it looks like the heat dome will shift into the south. We do expect just a baking heat wave here as we head towards the holiday.
Bill, I don't know how those weather walls work, but if you could get back to that, screen with all those temps on it, I'd love to take a look at that one with all those record highs because, and if you could farmer almanac it for me for a moment. Have you ever seen record highs like this before? And with that in mind, if yes or no, what are your expectations with the summer when we are 4 days into summer and we're looking at 115 degrees in some places today?
Yeah, so last week was unusual because we had a lot of records for June early, in the season. It was unusually hot for that early. That's why we had more records. As we get more into the summer, we're getting into the peak, and you start talking about the heat waves like going back to like 1936, like the Dust Bowl era, which is like shatters even all of these temperatures. And so as we go further into the summer, it's harder to break records. You have to have like really incredible heat. So when we talk about like Dallas, 100 degrees each and every day, they've done that like some summers, the hottest summers, like 30, 40 days in a row. So we're just at the beginning of this. We're trying to see kind of how our summer is going to set up. One thing for sure, though, it does look like it is going to be hot, and it looks like it's going to be wet, especially through the Midwest and then possibly into the Northeast later in the summer. We have to wait and see what the hurricanes do, too. But, yes, this does not look, at this point, it's not like, oh, my God, this is going to be the hottest summer ever. It doesn't look like that. This looks like a very hot summer. I bet you this June will probably end up top 5 for the U.S. all time.
Wow. Bill Cairns, Thank you. Appreciate it, my friend. In just the last hour or so, a group of Louisiana families, they filed this federal lawsuit over that Louisiana law that requires the 10 Commandments be displayed in all public school classrooms in the state, saying that this display is unconstitutional. The plaintiffs include parents who are rabbis, pastors, reverends, Jewish, Christian, Unitarian, Universalist, and non-religious. And basically, they're saying the display of the Christian 10 Commandments pressures students to adopt, quote, the state's favored religious scripture. Take a listen.
But it sends a dangerous and harmful message to children and the community that anyone who doesn't believe in the state's preferred scripture does not belong.
So Marissa Parra joining us now with more on this. We just heard a little bit of it, right? Like a taste of some of the main arguments that are being made. Expand on this, if you will, for us, Marissa, the arguments that we're hearing here.
Hey, Yasmin, good to be with you. So this was filed in a Middle District, Louisiana, in a federal court on behalf of 9 plaintiffs. And I'll sort of rattle through the main arguments here. They say that this violates Supreme Court precedent. They say this is an example of the law taking sides in a theological debate. The argument is also there in this complaint. They say that the parents now feel that they don't have the ability to direct their children's religion. And then they also say that children who do not belong to the Christian faith feel excluded and pressured to do so. So as you mentioned, this was a multi-faith complaint filed on behalf of plaintiffs who range from Christianity, they're Christians, or they might be non-religious, or they might belong to the Jewish faith. And there was one plaintiff, one parent, who was explaining how the display of the 10 Commandments, the requirement to display the 10 Commandments overall, violates his own religion.
The displays distort the Jewish significance of the 10 Commandments in several places and send the troubling message to students, including my kids, that they may be lesser in the eyes of the government because they do not necessarily follow this particular version, or any version for that matter, of the religious text.
Now, regarding the law, that is the requirement for public classrooms in the state of Louisiana to display the 10 Commandments, that requirement goes into effect at the start of 2025, meaning that it would be required for these public classrooms to display these 10 Commandments when kids essentially come back from winter break. And today's lawsuit, as it was explained to us by the lawyers, was filed with the sense of urgency to get a hearing as soon as possible. They're hoping for this summer and ultimately set the wheels in motion to what they're hoping for is to get an injunction and ultimately a block before that, Yasmin.
So it looked as if the governor expected this to come, this legal challenge to come, and in fact kind of said, bring it, right? Welcome.
Yeah, he did.
This legal challenge. Does that mean does that mean they're prepared essentially then to go to the Supreme Court with this thing?
I think that there's a lot of thinking that this was kind of signed as a test and pushed through as a test, because as we've talked about and as we both have mentioned, one of the big arguments here by those who filed this complaint is that this does directly conflict with a precedent that was set by the Supreme Court in 1980 with Stone versus Graham. And I want to point out some context real quick because we have a moment to talk about this is coming as there's been a wave of legislation across the South and surrounding states when it comes to bringing Christianity into schools, whether it's taking out LGBTQ plus education in order to not conflict with the Christian faith, or as we saw in Texas and most recently in Florida, bringing chaplains into schools. There is a lot here when it comes to the wave of the Christian faith being brought into public schools, Yasmin. And so what we have here with this specific case in Louisiana, the civil rights group said that this was a violation of Stone versus Graham, which was set in 1980, and Kentucky had tried to do the exact same thing that Louisiana is now set to do come 2025. But look at the anniversary we have today. Roe versus Wade was also precedent. So in many ways, there are people on both sides of the debate that expect this to go to the Supreme Court, which is now conservative leaning. So there are a lot of questions on how this will go if it does rise to that level. And of course, we'll be here to update you every step of the way, Yasmin.
Marissa Parra for us. Thank you, Marissa. Appreciate it. Let's talk about the Supreme Court for a moment. Now set to issue a ruling in this battle over gender-affirming care for minors. It is the very first time that this high court is going to wade into the issue. Here's what we know so far. The court is going to take up a case out of Tennessee. A law there restricting puberty blockers, hormone therapy, other treatments as well for minors. The justices, they're going to hear an appeal from the Biden administration seeking to block state bans on gender-affirming care for people under the age of 18. And take a look at this map, by the way. More than 20 other states have similar restrictions, meaning the decisions set to come in, the next term, are going to have major implications across the country. I want to bring in Lawrence Hurley for more on this. The court has until now really kind of stayed out of disputes involving transgender minors. What more do we know about the case, and why are they taking this up now?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like a lot of these laws have been passed in states, and these are all recent laws. So the court cases that are challenging those laws are now being going through the court system. And so, you know, these are kind of novel new issues, and they're only just kind of getting up to the Supreme Court. This one is important because, in particular, because the Biden administration actually intervened in the case, and they made a point of saying that this is a case of national importance. They're the ones who actually asked the court to hear the case. And when the Solicitor General, acting on behalf of the federal government, asked the Supreme Court to take up a case, you know, they very often do. So that's one of the reasons why the court's taking up this case right now.
So I think the big question here is what happens when there is actually a decision coming out of here, because you've got some pending litigation over gender-affirming care in certain states across the country. As we look at that map a little bit earlier, what kind of impact could a ruling have on those states with pending litigation?
Yeah, so any ruling in this Tennessee case is going to affect all of those other litigation that are going on around the country. But there's also like another reason why this case is important, which is the court's going to be looking at whether discrimination against transgender people gets some kind of special treatment, like the same way that sex discrimination does.
Yeah.
And so people are going to be looking really closely at that, because that could affect not just these other gender-affirming care laws, but also other laws affecting transgender people.
Lawrence Hurley for us. Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it. We are learning tonight the judge in former President Trump's classified docs case seemed skeptical of some of the special counsel's arguments for a gag order. Judge Cannon indicating that after the special counsel's office pointed to Mr. Trump's long history of attacking federal law enforcement, judges and witnesses, the former president's legal team says a gag order would be an unconstitutional restriction on the free speech of a former president who's also a leading candidate in the 2024 presidential election. The former president is already under 2 gag orders, by the way, one in the New York hush money trial where he was found guilty, and the other in his pending federal election interference case. The judge in the documents case, Eileen Cannon, ordered 3 full days of hearings on a range of legal motions set to wrap up tomorrow. Let's bring in Ken Delaney outside the courthouse for us in Fort Pierce, Florida, with more on this. The former president's legal team also brought a motion today that involves dismissing the case because the special counsel was not lawfully funded. The DOJ, by the way, Ken, saying the way the investigation is being paid for has been the status quo for all special counsels. Are these serious efforts to get the trial dismissed or really just another delay tactic?
Well, they're both, right, Yasmin? I mean, Donald Trump's strategy is to delay this case so that it plays out after the November election, and he hopes he wins and he can make it go away. And Judge Eileen Cannon is playing right into that strategy by granting the defense a hearing on nearly every contested motion, even like the one you just said, something that's already been litigated in other special counsel cases and has never been successful. Attempts to try to say that the special counsel is unconstitutional under both the Appointments Clause and the Appropriations Clause have failed in the past. And they may fail in this case, but the point is she's had a day and a half of hearings on them, along with a parade of other hearings. And that's the reason we don't have a trial date in this case and none in sight. Yasmin.
I want to talk about some of the previous rulings from Judge Cannon, if I can, for a moment here, Ken, because I know the former president has benefited from some of those rulings, dating all the way back to decisions that she made around the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago in 2022. Does the special counsel have any recourse on any of these decisions if they feel as if the judge here is being biased or unfair?
It's a great question. It's on everyone's minds. The answer, most legal experts say, is probably not. It's not enough to just say there's a pattern of rulings that appear to favor the defendant, because the judge has good reasons for all the rulings that she made. You need a showing of some kind of bias, an ex parte conversation, a political donation. There's none of that in this case. And so most legal experts say it would be perilous for the special counsel to try to file a motion for recusal. It probably wouldn't succeed. What could happen, though, is if she rules against them on the gag order, which they argued for today, they could appeal that. If she's reversed again, then that starts to be a pattern, because, as you said, she was badly reversed when she imposed a special master on the FBI after the search. The appeals court totally repudiated her so badly that the chief judge in this case asked her not to take the case. but according to the New York Times, but she did.
Well, and I do think it's interesting to note here, right, that Trump's attorneys have challenged Judge Juan Merchan, have challenged Judge Engoron as well in both the Trump civil fraud trial along with the hush money trial, and in both of those instances as well, those challenges have never worked. So important to apply that, I think, to this case as well as we talk about challenges possibly to Eileen Cannon. Ken Delaney in for us. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. So with those legal issues looming in the background, we're now just 3 days until that showdown between the president and the former president. And a big contrast is starting to emerge amidst all of this and how they are prepping. For the president, it's all about hunkering down at Camp David with hours of mock debates and quizzes from his top aides. For the former president, it seems like business as usual, heading to a campaign fundraiser in New Orleans. Mr. Trump's team saying public appearances, the fundraisers, the rallies, the interviews, they're all the candidate needs to prepare for Thursday. Let me bring in my friend Vaughn Hilliard, who's following all this for us. How much of this direction is coming from the former president himself in that I don't need debate prep, this is all I'm going to do?
This is a confident man, you could say, in Donald Trump, somebody who believes that, right, whether it's a campaign stage or whether it's in a right-wing media outlet that he talks to, he, right, is not somebody that usually is going off of many notes. Sometimes he's got a teleprompter at a rally, but he usually goes off on tangents and sort of feels comfortable and confident in the direction that he takes this. And I don't think that's going to be very much different for this debate. This is somebody who campaign advisors say needs no rehearsals, and that he is prepared to do this because of those campaign events and the fact that he talks with voters on the road, right? We also know that he's been talking with people like J.D. Vance and having what the campaign has suggested are policy discussions. And so for Donald Trump, this is 90 minutes. That's usually the length of one of his rallies. And he's clearly somebody who enjoys talking about not only the legal battles that he is going through, but also tries to talk about the Biden administration and policies that they have enacted over the last 4 years and tries to contrast it.
I just think it's so interesting because when we talk about the campaign, usually when you have candidates, right, you think that there is this huge apparatus behind the candidate, right, directing them in this direction or that direction, right? But as we saw, for instance, in the trial, Vaughn, both you and I knew and saw that it was the former president that was very much directing his legal team. And it seems as if he's doing the exact same thing in this re-election bid as well.
You're absolutely right, Yasmin. And this is, I think, the uniqueness of the Trump 2024 campaign, unlike even his first two campaigns, is that the senior staff that he has around, his two co-campaign managers included, they signed on to this to allow Donald Trump to be Donald Trump. And, right, we got used to, whether it was in the White House or campaign intrigue and palace drama, you're not hearing that this go around, because to be on the Trump campaign this time, it is a understanding that Donald Trump is the one solely in control of his messaging. He's the one in control of his events and his daily plans, and that, you know, nobody's going to be kept out of the Trump circle, but it's going to be Donald Trump that determines whether he picks up your phone call or not.
Yeah.
And so that is what makes this so unique. And so for him, he's not doing a mock debate, mock debates like he did even 4 years ago when Chris Christie was his ally at the time, standing in and playing the part of Joe Biden. This is Donald Trump, and this is Donald Trump's campaign.
So there's going to be a debate party in Georgia, it seems, with three very important individuals, possible VP contenders, right? You got Marco Rubio, you got Doug Burgum, you got J.D. Vance. Two of them, by the way, showed up at the hush money trial.
Right.
I believe Marco Rubio was not there.
No, we did not see Marco Rubio.
What is the likelihood one of these is chosen, and who is he honing in on at this point?
Right. There's a couple other names still. There's the Ben Carsons, but I would really look at, Doug Burgum and J.D. Vance are at the top of the list, because you have seen these two consistently go out and talk to Fox and other right-wing outlets and be on the front lines in, almost in Veep States form.
Burgum was everywhere when we were out with her.
He was at the trial.
Yeah.
A good number of days there. And this is somebody who a year ago had said that he wouldn't go into business with Donald Trump in response to a question.
J.D. Vance was a never-Trumper.
Right, on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. He said he wouldn't go into business with him. J.D. Vance said he was a never-Trumper and, said pretty much everything in the book in 2016 about Donald Trump. And so I think this is, for the former president, there is a reckoning here, because Mike Pence was about as loyal of a vice president as he was going to find for 4 years, up until January 6, 2021, in Donald Trump's mind. But that is where there's a difficulty with the pool that he was working from. A great number of them had said not so great things about Donald Trump in the past. And what Donald Trump is looking for is a key loyalist. And perhaps the North Dakota governor is somebody who is maybe not the most intimidating or threatening to his power, but is loyal.
Yeah, that's interesting. Vaughn Hilliard, Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it. A reminder, by the way, the first debate between President Biden and the former president being hosted by CNN, but you can watch it right here on NBC News Now with coverage starting at 7 p.m. on Thursday evening. You don't want to miss that. We are learning some new details about a deadly attack in Russia, killing at least 20 people, including 17 police officers in just the last 24 hours. Local authorities there in southern Russia saying multiple gunmen opened fire at 2 Orthodox churches, a synagogue, and a police post in coordinated attacks in 2 different cities. A top Russian official is blaming Islamic militants for the rampage just months after an Islamic State group claimed responsibility for an attack in Moscow that killed 145 people. I want to bring in Tom Winter for more. Tom, if you will, bring us up to date on this attack. Who might be responsible?
Right, let's get to the question there first, Yasmin. Right now, U.S. officials, as well as what we're hearing out of the terrorist community, it's really in doubt who's specifically responsible for this. ISIS-K, who might be the #1 suspect, if you will, that terrorist organization, they only praised the attack. They didn't take credit for it. There is an ISIS kind of affiliate or branch, if you will, that's located in the northern Caucasus, which is, of course, is where Dagestan is, and the 2 cities that were impacted here in these attacks. They have not taken responsibility, but they are there, and that's a possibility. So that's something we're going to continue to watch. But right now, the U.S. doesn't have an exact idea which terrorist group might be responsible for it, other than this is a terrorist attack. And a couple of things that they're looking at, the fact that he used gunfire, and then like the Crocus attacks, the ones you referenced before, which was attributed to ISIS-K, there was the idea of fire bombings afterwards. This is a new trend in terrorism attacks that we're starting to see more prevalent. The use of fire bombs during the course of the attack, it makes it very difficult for first responders to be able to help people out that have been impacted and injured in this. And so it's something that is unfortunately yet another disturbing trend.
This is not a region that is unfamiliar, Tom, with attacks like this one.
Well, that's exactly right. Either attacks like this one or attacks that have been launched out of this community. There have been strongholds of extremists for some times. I mean, it even got to the point leading up to the Sochi Games, there was a lot of reporting that Alexander Bortnikov, who runs the FSB, the Federal Security Service in Russia, it was their posture to effectively let some of these terrorist groups out of Dagestan to go to fight in Syria, so they didn't have to deal with them during the Sochi Olympics. It's an area that a lot of terrorist activity in Russia has been attributed to in the past. And then we saw an incident earlier this year where a plane carrying Israelis from Israel landed at an airport there, and actually the passengers were never able to disembark because they were surrounded by people who were protesting them. So it's an area that has had extremism in the past, and that is not expected to abate anytime soon in the near future.
Tom Winter, thank you. Appreciate it. Coming up, we are learning about how Alex Jones may help pay more than $1 billion that he owes for calling the Sandy Hook shooting a hoax. Officials in South Korea saying more than 20 people are dead after a factory fire, what investigators say exploded inside. Plus, the mayor of Oakland, California, speaking publicly for the first time since that FBI raid on her home, why she says she's not resigning. Welcome back. A legal firestorm. It's brewing today over this major clash between record companies and AI music services. The Recording Industry Association of America filing copyright infringement lawsuits today against 2 separate companies, accusing them of training their AI models on copyrighted music without permission and then spitting out AI-generated music that essentially sounds like other artists. We reached out to both defendants. One company's CEO just got back to us, the CEO of Suno, saying in part this: "We would have been happy to explain this to the corporate record labels that filed this lawsuit," and then in parentheses says, "and in fact, we tried to do so. But instead of entertaining a good faith discussion, they've reverted to their old lawyer-led playbook." I want to bring in NBC business and data correspondent Brian Chung to break this all down for us. There's a lot of confusing stuff in all this. I think for those folks that are not necessarily familiar with kind of AI-generated music scene, they're saying, okay, wait, what's going on? What are they doing?
Yeah.
So walk us through that and kind of why these record labels are so angry about what's happening.
Yeah, well, this
filing suit.
This is kind of the next natural evolution of the conversation on AI with copyright, right? Like, who owns this property? If it sounds like someone's voice, then who's liable if they try to copy that voice? Now, there are two defendants in this in these lawsuits that we're talking about. Suno, as you mentioned, which got back to us here at NBC News. But then the other company is this company known as Uncharted Labs. They have a software known as Udio, and interestingly, this is the software that's behind very prevalent songs. One example being BBL Drizzy. This is a song that was at the center of the spat between Kendrick Lamar and also Drake. So this is technology that is being heard already by millions of people. But we have to remember that what's in the suit right now concerns a lot of the artists that are on these record labels. There are major record labels as part of this suit, and the RIAA, which is basically the association that represents the industry, saying in a statement or in the lawsuit, unlicensed services like Suno and Udio that claim it's fair to copy an artist's life's work and exploit it for their own profit without consent or pay set back the promise of genuinely innovative AI for us all. And, you know, we have to remember that this type of software is very good. This is not just kind of, you know, a few tunes and few beats being put together. In fact, we actually had asked Udio, this is one of the companies and the softwares at the center of this suit, to generate a response. Take a listen to what they generated.
They got their eyes on you for the tunes you share. Labels coming after like they own the air.
And again, we asked them to generate that. This is not a statement from Udio, but you can see, I mean, those lyrics clearly take the side of AI.
Yeah.
Very interesting there.
Yeah. So what are the larger implications of all of this?
Yeah, well, the implications are that it's going to open up a real kind of legal Pandora's box in terms of whether or not it's on the AI companies or on the record labels to prove that they actually have the right to use these voices.
I feel like we kind of went through this iteration, a different iteration of this with kind of the dawn of Napster, right? And the music,
certainly, yeah.
business.
And in that case, it may have been a little bit more clear-cut because they were ripping the actual songs themselves.
Right.
And, you know, this is a little bit less clear. It might not be the exact same song, but in the legal filings, they did an example of a Michael Bublé song and said, look, this AI actually generated a melody that was virtually identical note for note. And they actually showed the notation out there.
Wow.
But is that enough if the voice is not Michael Bublé's, right? That's where a court is going to have to decide, a jury or a judge, this is the exact same thing, or it's an artistic representation of something that already exists.
Artistic representation.
We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. That's really fascinating stuff. To tonight's original, now with in-depth reporting on a topic that we have been watching. And tonight we're meeting a woman who is suing her hometown in Illinois for $20 million over an ordeal that started with missing AirPods. Basically, a couple of years ago when she was in high school, a school resource officer ticketed her for allegedly stealing AirPods. She says she didn't steal them. It turned into this years-long legal battle, and now a Spelman College graduate, she's fighting back against what she's calling civil rights discrimination. Here's Adrian Broadus.
A tiny electronic device caused big problems for Amara Harris.
It's been a roller coaster.
Harris was accused of stealing a classmate's AirPods she believed were hers. When confronted, the then high school junior says she returned the AirPods to school officials. But a school resource officer at Naperville North High School still issued a $100 ticket for a theft Harris says never happened.
I was angry. I was sad. I felt that I was targeted with this case.
Harris refused to pay the fine, prompting nearly a 4-year legal battle.
There were more than 50 hearings.
And a 2-day trial where she won.
Amara's issued this ticket and by her own courage decides that she's not going to pay the ticket because she did nothing wrong. It created, I think, a tension between the city for needing now to double down and defend on a practice that is not only questionable, but we believe is illegal.
Now, Harris is taking the city of Naperville to court, filing a $20 million civil suit claiming malicious prosecution and civil rights violations.
It requires now the intervention of the courts to get the city's attention. I hope it will say to the legislature, to the governor, and to the city that we have to change how we abuse the system and use the process against the interests of our students.
The suit also names the officer who issued the ticket as a defendant. That same officer testifying during the jury trial, he had no direct evidence Harris had stolen the AirPods. In a statement, the city attorney wrote, quote, "We believe the allegations are without merit," saying in part the city is prepared to vigorously defend this lawsuit, adding the police officers relied on eyewitness statements in issuing the citation. The fact that the jury acquitted Ms. Harris does not negate the factual basis for the actions of the city and its officers. The officers named in the suit and the school district didn't respond to our request for comment. A ProPublica investigation found black students in Illinois were twice as likely to receive a ticket at a school compared to their white classmates.
Is this a different form of racism?
That's an interesting question. The reason there's a civil rights aspect to it is that there's a disparate application of the issuance of tickets on the basis of race.
Despite everything,
Amara Fallon Harris.
a moment of triumph for Harris after a taxing case. Graduating last month with a bachelor's degree from Spelman College in Atlanta.
You were always a great helper.
Marla Baker witnessed the emotional toll on her daughter, who she says was an outgoing cheerleader, but now barely speaks above a whisper.
I try to hold my tears back because I know she's fighting through depression, she's fighting through anxiety, and she's getting back to that big personality, that big smile.
Turning what started as a misunderstanding into a catalyst for change.
Now I'm seeing the brighter side of it and seeing how I can help other kids and help schools.
Adrian Broaddus joining us now. Always incredible, Adrian. I love that story, to see something like that happen to a young woman like that, so incredibly smart, and be, as you said, right, this catalyst for change. So with that, now we're hearing there's this push right in Chicago, other places as well, to get rid of school resource officers altogether.
Yeah, you're right. There is a push. Some districts are calling for counselors instead of cops. In fact, here this week in Chicago, there was a planned vote happening with the Chicago Board of Education. This comes after the board unanimously voted to terminate its school resource officer program back in February. The board will vote on those plans, to finalize those plans, I should say, this week. And that's something that we could see happening in Chicago public schools. To be clear, not the school where Amara Harris attended, a different district, but that would go into place at the start of the next school year. So we're looking at September, and that's something we'll stay on top of.
Great reporting, Adrian. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. We got number 1, the defense resting its case today in the murder trial over the death of a Boston police officer. Prosecutors saying Officer John O'Keefe's then-girlfriend hit him with her car and then left him to die. Karen Reed's defense team claiming it was a cover-up by law enforcement. We're going to have more on closing arguments expected to begin tomorrow. Number 2, the Dolly cargo ship is now on the move nearly 3 months after it lost power and crashed into Baltimore's Key Bridge. The Coast Guard is overseeing the trip. It's supposed to go to Virginia to have around 1,500 cargo containers offloaded and go through repairs from damage caused during the collapse. Number 3, Oakland's mayor getting emotional today, making her first public comment since federal authorities raided her home last week. She said, quote, "This investigation is not about me," and that she has no plans to resign. She didn't take questions. Remember, FBI agents carried boxes out of her house. We got number 4 for you. At Northwestern, performing one of the first kidney transplants on a patient awake. During the procedure, the hospital says the 28-year-old experienced no pain, was home within 24 hours. Instead of using general anesthesia, doctors used a spinal anesthetic, similar to what is done in C-sections. I know what those feels like. Number 5, Taylor Swift praising her band following a standing ovation at one of her London concerts, saying, quote, "This, my band who's going to be playing live for you for 3.5 hours tonight, they deserve this so much." Some speculating it's in response to Foo Fighters band member Dave Grohl, who compared Swift's band to his during their show in London. He said, quote, "That's because we actually play live." When we come back, why some Picasso paintings are hanging in a woman's bathroom. We're following some breaking news, everybody. We are just learning that a bankruptcy court trustee is planning to shut down and sell off InfoWars, Alex Jones's media company and popular conspiracy site. The move is supposed to help Jones pay off the $1.5 billion in legal fees that he owes the families of the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre for calling the event a hoax. Want to go right to legal analyst Carol Lamb to talk more about this. A few questions I have here for you, Carol. Explain how this decision is made, what a bankruptcy or court trustee actually is, how common something like this is to happen.
Right. Well, bankruptcies happen all the time in the United States. It's something that's actually baked into our Constitution, and it's to give people who are facing liquidation or inability to pay all of their bills a chance at a fresh start. Now, here in the case of Alex Jones, this has been ongoing for a while, this sort of push and pull about whether a bankruptcy is appropriate. But in this case, a bankruptcy trustee was appointed, and bankruptcy trustees have a lot of authority. It basically says you have to report, that is, the person in bankruptcy has to report all of your assets, all of your holdings to the bankruptcy trustee, and the bankruptcy trustee will then decide how to best divide up those assets to the creditors of that person. So that's what's going on here.
All right, Carol Lamb for us. Thank you, Carol, for jumping on this. We appreciate it. NBC covers hundreds of international stories every day. And because it is tough to read, to watch, or to listen to all of them, our teams around the globe have done it for you. Here's a look at what they're watching in a segment that we call The Global. South Korea. Officials there saying at least 22 people died after a fire tore through a lithium battery factory. 8 other workers got hurt. It happened after batteries exploded. Officials saying they're investigating. From China, heavy rains today flooding a southern city. You can see people wading through water there. It's at a record for the most rain there in an hour. In the month of June, according to numbers from a weather service in the area, China usually doesn't even enter peak rainy season until late July. Out of Australia, take a look at this. You can see what appears to be Picasso paintings hanging in a women's bathroom. So how did that happen? Well, a museum there says it had this exhibit called the Ladies' Lounge, only for women, but a court recently ruled that it had to let men in. So the artist behind the exhibit posted on Instagram saying the Ladies' Lounge had to close and they didn't know what to do with all of those Picassos. And based on the photos and videos she shared, it looks like they've got a new home for now, right by the toilets. All right, Los Angeles' mayor tonight saying she's ordering increased police patrols at places of worship after a violent clash outside a synagogue between a group of pro-Palestinian protesters and supporters of Israel. Video from the scene Sunday appears to show people throwing punches and using their protest signs as weapons. The fighting continued in broad daylight before police were able to step in. President Biden responding on Twitter, X, I should say, saying intimidating Jewish congregants is dangerous, unconscionable, anti-Semitic, and un-American. Americans have a right to peaceful protest, but blocking access to a house of worship and engaging in violence is never acceptable. David Noriega is joining us with more. These pictures, David, they're pretty intense. How serious was this for arrests to have been made?
You know, in terms of the level of violence, this was, I would say, not quite as serious as what we saw with the UCLA encampment here just a few weeks ago, but it was still serious enough for the LAPD to make one arrest of a person they said was carrying what they described as a spike pole, presumably a flagpole or a sign. They also say they're investigating 2 reports of battery. Now, the police were present on the scene the whole time. This was an event they're aware of, so there really are questions around why they did not keep these 2 groups of protesters and counter-protesters separate, why these brawls were allowed to happen in the first place. Yasmin?
What was actually happening at the synagogue when this violence broke out? And what are we hearing from city and state officials overall?
So the reason there was a protest at this synagogue is because protesters were targeting an event taking place inside the synagogue that was promoting real estate in Israel. One of the companies that was participating in the event has in the past promoted listings for properties in Israeli settlements in the West Bank. That is what protesters say they were protesting. Now, obviously, the presence of protesters and counter-protesters both meant that this devolved into violence. And in terms of the response from officials on both the local, state, and national level has been pretty unanimous unanimous in condemning the initial protest as anti-Semitic. There is the president's statement that you read out. Right. Representatives Ted Lieu and Adam Schiff have made similar statements. California Governor Gavin Newsom, for example, put a post on Twitter or X this morning describing this as anti-Semitic hatred. That is what we've been hearing from officials. There is actually going to be a press conference in about an hour and 15 minutes here in LA with the mayor and the police department. We may get some more reaction then.
Thank you for being on that for us, David Noriega. Appreciate it. Coming up, everybody, a teen track star breaking a record twice in a weekend. We're talking about what could be his final sprint to the Paris Olympic Games with NBC Olympics track and field announcer coming up next. It's so exciting. It's that time of year again, right? We're deep in the middle of Olympic trials. America's top athletes, they're competing for this coveted spot on the USA Olympics team. And already an incredible story is taking shape. There's a reason why that individual looks so young. He's 16 years old. Quincy Wilson setting an under 18 record in the 400 meters. Tonight, he's going to compete in the men's finals. And if he finishes in the top 3, it's going to change his life forever. He's going to become the youngest ever male member of the U.S. Olympic track team. And if you think he's nervous about all of this, listen to this.
I'm 16 years old. I'm going to be the youngest in the 400 field, the youngest there in general. And so just knowing that I don't really have any pressure because I'm the underdog really going into the race. Honestly, I think I would probably have more pressure in a high school race than I would have in a pro race.
You have got to love that. Lee Diffie joining us now, who calls track and field for NBC Sports, joining me from Eugene, Oregon. I mean, come on. You got a 16-year-old breaking records, right? He could make it to the Olympics, of all places, in Paris in the 400 meter, and he doesn't have that much pressure because he's got nothing to lose. What a mindset to have going into this thing.
I think he's an educator for all of us, Yasmin, because
you're right.
It's like don't take life so seriously. You know, he was informed yesterday by our trackside reporter, Lewis Johnson. He said, "You're 16. You're running beside a veteran, a credentialed veteran, an Olympian in Vernon Norwood, who's 32, twice your age." And he turned that round into a talking point later on. This kid is just so bright and so refreshing. And before he ran yesterday, the roar that he got from the crowd here at Hayward Field just elevated all of us.
Can you talk about his record breaking? Not once, but twice in 2 days. What was it like to see him run? What was it about even kind of his glide, right? The way that he ran that track that differentiated him from the other runners?
Well, I'm going to steal some of his words because he said, "I'm only 16. I'm running against men. If you look at me physically, I'm nowhere near as big or as muscular as they are." And he said, "I'm running with all of this. I'm running with lots of heart." And he just showed so much determination. You talk about those records, by the way.
Yeah.
He did break 2 records within back-to-back sessions. And he broke not only the 42-year-old high school record twice, but he then broke the world under-18 record as well. So this kid is just smashing it everywhere.
So what does that do to you? Okay, first of all, predictions. Do you think he's going to do it? Is he going to make it to the Olympics? A. And then what does that do to you when you're 16 years old and you get to go to the Paris Olympics and run in the 400 meter?
Well, I think he's going to have an accelerated maturation. You know, there's going to be a lot to take in. But this kid, you know, he goes to school at Bullis High School, which is proudly displayed on his running uniforms. He's had a different uniform for each round, and he kind of likes that design. He's a straight-A student at school, doesn't yet have a driver's license. So he's got a lot of growing up in life to do anyway, but he just seems to be taking it in such a mature way and one step at a time, pardon the pun. But look, to answer your question about whether he's going to make it or not, it's probably going to be a stretch, but there's a little caveat to that because we still could see him in Paris because the speed that he's shown, and simply to make the final, he could be on the 4x400 meter relay team. So he could go to Paris anyway, which would be fantastic.
That would be amazing. Lee Diffie, we appreciate you as always. Thank you, friend. By the way, you can watch NBC Sports coverage of those Olympics team trials tonight, NBC in Peacock. You don't want to miss it. I mean, come on. You got to see that guy race. Still to come, why Gen Z is swiping left on dating apps and how they're meeting people the OG way, offline. That's coming up next. All right, so for years now, right, apps like Bumble, Hinge, they've dominated the dating space. But studies now showing millennials and Gen Z, they may not be as interested anymore. And it doesn't just go for dating, but also making friends. So how are young people actually making connections? They're getting together in person. Maura Barrett's looking into it for us.
Here, let me do it for you, Ethel.
Thanks, Bill. The saying, what's old is new again, is ringing true tonight for how young people are looking to date.
I'm not saying dating apps are bad, but I think we broke it. We need to go back to the old-fashioned way for a little bit.
Gen Z specifically is looking to stop swiping, showing more interest in meeting people, quote, naturally. A new Eventbrite report showing a notable rise in singles events and speed dating.
Attraction doesn't work necessarily in the ways that we use them on dating apps, where you might make a snap judgment on someone in less than 30 seconds. And that's not how things play out in person.
A craving for connection led Ariana Nathani to make a space for singles in New York City with her company Drinks First, curating dating events in person.
What took our events to the next level was the interest that people wanted, that in-person connection. That has only strengthened with the decline of the use of dating apps.
It's a trend across the country. According to Eventbrite, a majority of young daters now saying meeting IRL feels more genuine, while nearly half says it feels safer than a potential catfish online. Dr. Jess Carbino, a sociologist who previously worked for Tinder and Bumble, says it's also because younger generations are leaning into meeting where it's convenient, like in college or at sports clubs.
And frankly, I'm glad that they are. And the dating apps should be glad that they are as well, because they're going to learn the skills they need to be good daters.
Owen Warren and Davey Hiles attended one of the Drinks First events, hoping to meet women. Even though they struck out in the dating department, they became fast friends.
Putting yourself out there in the room is as important as like having like a deep one-on-one connection with like one person. Owen and I start getting along really well. Maybe like, you know, we could be friends.
And just looking for a connection with anybody, it seems.
There's a little less barrier to entry. We've all sort of signed up for something by coming to this a little bit. And that sort of mutual buy-in is a powerful thing.
The business of creating community has proven difficult for dating app companies that had once seen a surge in swiping. Match Group and Bumble, companies that make up almost the entire industry, have lost over $40 billion in market value since 2021, according to the New York Times. The app's starting to shift gears. Just last month, the founder of Bumble teased that the app probably won't be centered around dating in a few years, and instead used to meet anyone with similar interests.
We're really entering new territory. And I would like to think that we're not necessarily reverting to old ways, but we're forging a new path ahead.
Daters taking a swiping sabbatical in hopes of finding the perfect meet cute in person.
Some people attributing that swiping sabbatical to the fact that these apps, these dating apps, are putting in paywalls. It's something that's existed previously to, say, get to a higher tier or a different level. But Gen Zers who are dating now says it feels unnatural, unrealistic, and they don't like the fact that some of their dating matches might be hidden behind a paywall. And so that's another reason why we're seeing these apps shifting strategies. Bumble, for example, relaunching this year with what they're calling a more modern, compelling look, hoping to make a stronger appeal to younger daters. Back to you.
Getting out and in person. Thank you to Maura for that. That wraps it up for this hour, everybody. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.